It may have been the Syrian rebels and not President Bashar al-Assad's forces behind a chemical attack in Aleppo that has killed 24 people earlier this year. Now, this is according to a Russian team that had conducted an on-site investigation. It believes the chemical trail leads straight to the rebels. Washington, though, maintains that it is more likely to be the regime in Damascus. The details now from RT's Zdjęcia Can.
As you probably remember, the UN investigation into the use of chemical weapons near Aleppo never materialized. The Syrian government requested such investigation, but some UN officials demanded access into all Syrian facilities, which Syria denied, insisting on the investigation of that particular incident in March. Anyway, that UN investigation never happened. But nonetheless, the US came forward and said it had evidence that the Syrian government used chemical weapons. But there were lots of questions as to the sources through which they got the evidence. Washington brushed off all reports that rebels could have been behind the attack. The Syrian government wanted to clarify the incident and requested Russian experts to look into what happened in al-Assal near Aleppo, which they did. And based on their analysis, Russia says there's every reason to believe that it was the armed opposition fighters who used chemical weapons in al-Assal. Take a listen.
The results of the analysis clearly indicate that the ordnance used in al-Assal was not industrially manufactured and was filled with sarin. The sarin technical specifications prove that it was not industrially manufactured either. The projectile involved is not a standard one for chemical use. Therefore, there is every reason to believe that it was the armed opposition fighters who used the chemical weapons in al-Assal.
So Russia has submitted these experts' analysis to the UN. Russia's envoy to the UN also underscored that Russian experts personally collected the samples from the very site where the projectiles hit. He said they were not handed over to Russia through third parties, which was the case with the reports of other countries submitted to the Secretary General. The samples that Russians took were analyzed at an internationally recognized and certified Russian lab. Russia also says it has information that the so-called Bashar al-Nasser Brigade, affiliated with the Free Syrian Army, began the production of unguided projectiles, so-called Bashar 3 projectiles, in February 2013, and they were used in the March attack. In light of this, Russia calls for the UN to look into this and for the international community to consider all evidence at hand. President Obama's press secretary yet again brushed off the report, saying, "We seriously doubt anyone other than the Syrian government could use chemical weapons in Syria." The U.S. has already decided to arm the Syrian rebels, explaining the move as being in response to evidence that Assad has used chemical weapons. Although the UN has never verified the evidence, the U.S. claims it has. So we're looking at a clash of evidence and also at a large gap in trust between the U.S. and Russia over Syria, with Moscow asking, why is the U.S. so eager to dismiss reports about the use of chemical weapons by the rebels?